everybody, I'm Trish. You're watching The Hunt. We are still with Darcy Bingham, just a dear friend and advocate, really, for people in general. She is a catalyst of sorts. She is a badass. I have a lot of experience listening to Darcy, and I just see the impact that she makes. So glad you're here with us today. So we've been talking about conversations of consequence, and you were in student affairs, higher education for 20 years. So what was that experience like, and how does that kind of fit into all of this?
Well, one of the fun things about my job was I was a recreation director at a university. So the recreation department employs more students than just about anybody except maybe housing and dining services, right? So 650 students, all of them growing in transitions, trying to figure out who they are, who they want to be. And that gives you a lot of experience working with that many people in transition to help people figure out what is it that's going to work best for you, and who are you, and who do you want to be, and how do you find your strengths? How do you supplement your weaknesses and make them strengths?
Okay, I need to stop right there and ask you. Do you believe in soaring with your strengths, or in understanding your weaknesses and working to make those into strengths?
Well, one of my areas of training is in appreciative inquiry, right? And in
Let's stop down on that one, everybody. Appreciative inquiry.
What
does that mean?
Well, appreciative inquiry is where you ask what goes right and how do you feed what's going right, as opposed to focusing on what's negative or a weakness. So you say, what are your strengths? How do we make them better? How do we, if we're working together as a team, what's really working? And taking that and amplifying it, as opposed to this isn't working, that isn't working. It gets you into a negative energy dive that appreciative inquiry really can help elevate everyone. Rising tide lifts all boats, right? So it makes you stronger. You can concentrate on it. Yes, you need to be introspective, and if you have something that's holding you back, let's address it. But how do you learn best then? How can you apply techniques that are applicable for you? I mean, how do you learn, right? Are you a visual learner? Are you an auditory learner? Are you a kinetic learner? Let's figure out the way you learn best and build on what you perceive as weaknesses. It's just unexercised, right?
And what was the feedback when because I imagine, and at that age, I mean, I remember you got a lot going on, and you're still growing up and understanding who you are as a human being. I mean, I remember at that age, college age, understanding, okay, do I believe in this religion because I was told to as a child, when I didn't really have any say in that? I was baptized, for example, or do I really believe in it because I believe in it?
I think that that's something that everybody should explore. We talked earlier about backing out, right? So I would say, what is it about the religion that is good for you? What pieces of it resonate? Is it the ritual? Is it grounding? Is it your faith? And looking at it, just because your parents or someone shared something with you and that's how you were raised, doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't necessarily mean it's good. You need to find your own opinion. And college and late teens is kind of when that happens.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
Most people.
And did you find, and do you continue to find, that sometimes because we don't take the time for isolation, I'll call it isolation, even though that might sound aggressive, I don't know. When we take the time to be alone in our own thoughts and get to know ourselves, then we can really assess what we value and where we want to spend our time, and when we feel good and when we don't feel good, versus just letting the day dictate what happens to us, right? Instead of being deliberate about it, and letting other people and being the people pleaser. I mean, did you find, like, in your conversations during that time and still with people, like when they're trying to, because transitioning your thinking, I mean, that takes work.
It can.
Yeah.
It certainly can. I think you're talking about taking time for introspection.
Yeah.
Right? Reflection. And everybody has their way, and I think one of the most important things we can learn about ourselves is, do you think best when you're in nature? Do you think best when you're walking on the beach? Do you think best meditating in a quiet room with a candle? I mean, everyone needs to find their own ground and center space, right? In your own heart space, where you can be friends with yourself.
Yeah, and know that that's okay to take the time to do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Right.
And becoming friends with yourself and learning who your self, capital S, is one of life's most important works.
Yeah, I mean, if I could go back, I would say be your own best friend first.
Yeah.
You know, give yourself the advice you give to your best friend, right? So this reminds me of a conversation you and I had recently, and I'm excited for the audience to hear this. And it was, we were talking about, kind of in the same vein, but you were telling me a story, again, a conversation of consequence, about the song we all hold dear.
Yes.
Row, row, row your boat. Let's get into
row,
that.
row your boat. Yes.
Let's get into that.
Row, row, row your boat. A bit of wisdom collected. I think if people did their research online, they're going to find Wayne Dyer. Dyer, sorry.
Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Has some
Rest
really
in
good information about it. I was at a conference, again, learning, trying to grow myself and my profession. The speaker was had everybody sing. We were in a room with 2,000 people. And he's like, okay, this section, you all learned to sing in the round when you were little. You know, we've all done this, row, row, row your boat. And so we started singing, and he's like, okay, have you ever thought about the words? And wisdom comes from anywhere and everywhere if you're paying attention. And row, row, row your boat. He's like, this is the story of how we should live our lives. Row, row, row your boat. So rowing, let's work. Make sure you're going to work. Keep going. Row. And put in the effort. Whose boat do you row? Your boat. Stick with yourself. Work on yourself. Work for yourself. And let's row your boat, not other people's boats, you know, not your next door neighbor's boat, not your partner's boat, but your boat. And how do we row? Gently, very gently, not busily, not angrily, but gently, down the stream, downstream, not upstream. Find your flow. Everybody talks about flow, right?
Yeah.
So find the flow. So we're going to go gently down the stream. And how are we going to do that?
Merrily, 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 merrily.
Exactly. Try not to be grumpy. Find things that make you happy.
Yeah.
Find joy. Have awe. And do it merrily. And then what happens? Then your life is but a dream, right? Keep dreaming.
So darn good. God, I love it. All right, you guys, stick with us. We're going to be right back with Darcy Bingham, more Conversations of Consequence. I'm Trish. You're watching The Hunt.